So there's something to be said about soft closing. So soft closing is not necessarily just being like, the usual close where it's like, hey, let's exchange numbers or let's exchange Instagrams at the end of the interaction. Sometimes there's a little bit of value of keeping it a bit more open, keeping it a bit more sort of vague. And almost sort of like saying to, I've seen it in various sort of ways where, the guy might say to the girl, oh, I'm having a party later today or later this week on the weekend or whatever. If you fancy coming, you can come, and if not, that's cool. And that's a very, very soft close, because really what the guy wants is to actually meet the girl in a romantic setting, ideally. But he's not pushing for that. He's pushing for something almost like a level below that. But it does have its advantage. I do feel like soft closing does have its place, because it just releases the pressure. When you sort of ask someone to exchange numbers and meet up with them another time, it's almost like putting quite a bit of pressure on them in a way, and that can sort of put people off. Sometimes people need a bit of time to think about things. Doesn't necessarily mean no. Oftentimes it will, because that's just the nature of doing something like this. You're going to get more no's than yeses. But yeah, like trying to get commitment early on is sometimes a little bit difficult. Like the girl has to be super invested. She has to be very much like a yes girl for her to actually commit to actually like literally agreeing and being genuine about it, to actually seeing you again. So actually doing a bit more of a soft close can be advantageous, I feel like, in some situations. I think that like in a group setting, so when the girl is, with a friend or more than one girl group, I feel like soft closing can oftentimes be actually better than, just the usual type of close. A lot of the time I do the normal type of close, even in sort of groups and that sort of thing, just because my nature is very sort of direct. I like to just be honest and to the point with people in general. I can't really be bothered to dance around the subject, so that's just me. That's my personal preference. But I do see the value in doing a bit more of a softer close, where you sort of relieve the pressure a bit more, and you keep it a bit more low key. They can sort of decide yes or no. The other thing, when the girl's with a group and you do a soft close, like saying, for example, we're going to have like a get together with some friends, you can come along if you want, bring your friends as well. It's like when the girl's able to bring her friends, that can also really help as well, not only just in terms of relieving the pressure, but it can also help in terms of helping the girl can just feel a lot more confident, because she'll have other people there with her to support her, and it's not just all on her sort of thing. Whereas when you do like a normal approach and you sort of talk to the girl and you're almost trying to get commitment from her to meet up with you again later, it's kind of a lot of pressure on the girl. Sometimes she has to be quite confident and open-minded for that to work, obviously. Whereas with this way, it just helps a lot more. The other advantage, of course, with a sort of this type of thing as well, is that if you say to the girl like, oh, we're having a party with some friends, whatever, later, that gives you a lot of social proof as well. The fact that you've got friends and the fact that you're doing some sort of group activity, that's like quite a normal sort of thing to do, and that can also really help in terms of not just in terms of attraction, but also in terms of like everything else, like in terms of comfort, social proof. She's not going to think you're a serial killer, because usually serial killers don't have parties or group gatherings and stuff like that. So yeah, that can really help quite a lot. The other thing as well, like in a group situation, sometimes closing can be a little bit awkward as well. I find like when there's like 3 or more girls in a group and you're trying to sort of just pick one girl to sort of close, it can be a little bit awkward, because then the other girls can sometimes feel a little bit left out, or even sometimes can feel a bit jealous as well. I do that anyway, because I just don't really care, but it does have value, because like I said before, I prefer to be a bit more direct most of the time with people. But yeah, if you can sort of get sort of the group to buy in, the girl can bring her group of friends and meet up with your group of friends, that can really help as well. It becomes more of a sort of a group dynamic situation, which is a bit different later on, but it can definitely help a lot in terms of an initial buy-in. I know that a lot of guys do this sort of thing, and especially in like sort of party locations, you know, like for example beach locations around the world, you know, like Ibiza, all those sorts of places. Also in like Playa del Carmen, if you're like there with friends, and you know, often the time, or most of the time, you're going to approach a girl and she's going to be there with friends, and sometimes, you know, the girl doesn't really want to ditch her friends to meet up with some random guy. So when you can sort of say, yeah, I've got a friend, or I'm here with friends, bring your friends along as well, then all of a sudden things can happen, can sort of materialize a little bit more easily that way. It's not guaranteed, because you know, a lot of these girls have a lot of options, and you know, they might think that, oh, I don't want to go out with these random guys, or let's just go to this place here or whatever, you know. So it's not guaranteed. It's certainly not nailed on, but it's definitely an option. It's something that I do see quite a lot with a lot of guys, and it can be effective to do it that way. So that's you know, soft closing really. If it's like a one-on-one, you can still do that as well. You know, you can still say, I'm having a party, you know, you can come along, and you know, bring your friends along as well, and you can do that sort of thing. But again, it's like you have to have a party. You know, it's like you have to be there with your friends and have some sort of social gathering. Whereas, you know, what I do a lot of time, you can just say to the girl, let's exchange numbers, and she kind of knows what that means, but you don't necessarily have to get full commitment for meeting up for a coffee later. I know some guys really like to sort of sort out almost like all the logistics stuff in the initial interaction. You don't really need to do that, in my opinion. You can just do that over text. But yeah, she has to be pretty bought in, and I don't really like to make sort of concrete plans too much in the initial interaction. I don't really feel it's that necessary, and it's certainly not going to help in terms of converting later anyway, so there's no real need to do it so soon anyway.
Thanks for watching. If you want to be able to do what you see me do in these videos, head over to my online course, which covers pretty much everything you need to know about day game to get to a good level and actually implement it in a manageable way. Link is in the description.